What it is, my 10 Peace and Grease here, and it is that time, the time where we talk about and review the Angels of Zariman update. Now, I'm going to talk about what I liked in this update, what I disliked in this update, and then we're just going to assign a number to this update. The number system is going to be pretty straightforward. 1 is going to be an awful, dreadful update, 3 is going to be average, and 5 is going to be an amazing update. So I think the best place to start when we're talking about the Angels of Zariman is probably with the quest, the Angels of Zariman quest. Now this was an extremely short quest. One of the shorter quests in recent memory. But the first problem with this quest was the writing. And I'm sorry guys and gals at DE, I love you all, but the writing was really bad on this quest. First of all, the whole idea for going back to the Zariman just seems so contrived. Like, the Zariman reappearing, that was fine. I had no problem with that. But the original crew still being there, and somehow the original crew still remember you when you were a snot-nosed kid, right? None of that is believable at all. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, that it was a Grenier trap or that it was a Corpus trap, right? And then they're like, oh, hey, why don't you just move in with us? Really? The boss fight for Kira, it just felt tacked on. Like it was an afterthought. Like they didn't really plan on having a boss fight, but they decided, oh, we'll just tack one on at the end anyway. It seemed completely pointless, right? There wasn't enough discussion or exposition about the angels. I had 2 pages of questions and none of them are answered. Does this mean that any living organism that goes into the void becomes an angel? Or just humans? Is that how that works? Does your mental state have any bearing on what type of angel you become? Are there good angels, or are all angels bad? And if so, why? Right? Like, I could go on for days the questions that I have about angels. None of them are answered. None at all. And I wish I could say that was the end of the problems with this particular quest, but my God, this was a bug and riddle fueled nightmare. As short as this quest is, I was stuck for 3 to 4 hours of my life on the last mission of this quest. That was the Kira boss fight, in case you're wondering. It was a disaster of epic proportions. It was so buggy and glitchy. This is probably the worst update to date that I have personally ever experienced in this game. And in case you're wondering what platform I'm on PlayStation 5. And I am playing the PlayStation 5 version of the game Warframe. And it still was a disaster. In fact, let me recount some of the bugs that I personally encountered in my life, 3 to 4 hours of my life trying to get through this last mission, trying to get the game to cooperate and stop being so buggy. And in case you're wondering, I would play for like an hour trying to get through this quest, and then I would quit so I didn't snap and break something, right? And then I would come back and I would do it again. So that's basically, I didn't sit through it for a whole 3 to 4 hours. I don't have the patience for that. But the bugs and glitches, how about Kira straight up having wall hacks and being able to actually launch her projectiles preemptively so that by the time I spawn in, the split second I spawn in, she knocks me right back out of the game world? On that same topic, how about every time I went back to my Warframe, I was insta-killed, right? No rhyme, no reason, no discussion, full health, full shields, boom, dead. Game burning through my revives over and over and over again. How about Kira getting stuck whenever you do damage, right, in that world? How about you falling off the platforms and falling for 5 minutes before you use / unstuck? How about Kira summoning her orbs and then the game not counting when you dash through them, right? And then, of course, Kira gets all of her health back. And then you have to start the entire boss fight over again, right? Yeah, the boss fight design is horrendous. This is the worst boss fight ever in this game. There is no worse boss fight design in this game than Kira. That's how horrendous this boss fight design is, right? I could go on for hours, dude. This was a tremendous train wreck. It was horrible. It was, yeah. Let me be brutally honest. Removing this quest from this update would exponentially improve this update. That's how bad this was. The writing, the buggy glitch-fueled nightmare. It was horrible. It was horrendous. Now, I know DE's working hard on it. I know they are. I think we're on update 4 or 5 at this point. Hotfix 4 or 5 at this point. I know DE's trying to get it right. And I respect that. I do. But unfortunately, they can't fix my experience with this. My experience was a nightmare with this quest. And they can't fix that. That time is gone. That time has passed. And everybody else out there that was in the same boat as me they can't fix that. They can't undo what we had to experience. So unfortunately, that can't be changed. DE can fix it for people that are going to play this quest in the future, and that's a good thing. And I don't want to be dismissive of that. But unfortunately for the rest of us, the damage was already done on this quest, sadly. In case you're wondering, what do you get for doing this quest? Do you get the Geyer blueprint? No, of course not. Why would you get the Geyer blueprint? You get a Void Plume resource. Yeah, and if you don't care about that, it's no surprise. Nobody really does. But since I mentioned Void Plume resources, we got to go there. We have to talk about it. Now, did you know that there are currently 20 factions total in this game? 20, 20. 20 factions total in this game with this update. The reason I bring this up is actually pretty important. DE releases the Plains of Eidolon with 2 factions, right? And it's all fishing, hunting, mining, bounties on this one. And that was okay, because Plains of Eidolon was new. It was the first open world, so we were willing to overlook it, right? Then they released Fortuna, with not 1, not 2, but 3 factions. And it's all fishing, hunting, mining, bounties on this one. And at this point, starting to get a little old, right? Then they released Deimos. And it's 2 more factions. And of course, this one's all fishing, hunting, mining, bounties again. And at this point, shit's getting tiring, right? It's getting very old. And of course, with this update, we get yet again another faction. The question becomes this. How many factions are enough, DE? In 3 years from now, how many more factions will you have added to this game? In 6 years, how many more factions will you have added to this game? There are currently 20 different factions in this game. And guaranteed, DE is going to add, and I will bet you anything, DE is going to add 1 to 2 more factions here. Guaranteed for the Chrysalis. I guarantee you they're going to. Which is going to take us up to 21 to 22 different factions in this game. In 3 years' time, are we going to be at 60 factions, DE? At 6 years' time, are we going to be at 120 different factions? When is enough factions enough? Let me explain to you exactly what your player community are wanting. We want to go into an update, and we want to enjoy it and focus on the update without ever thinking about a damned faction. We want to be able to go into an update and be immersed in it without ever having to worry about leveling said faction or what new resources we need to farm to increase the rank of said faction or what we're going to get for improving that rank of said faction. We want to just go into an update and enjoy the update. And I don't understand why that's so hard for you to comprehend. And that's something you have never given us yet, to date. But here we are yet again with another update and another faction. And I am fearful that in 3 years' time, this game's name is going to change from Warframe to Faction Frame. Because that's all this game is faction after faction after faction. And I wish I could say that was the end of the problems, but it's not. DE has removed every potential method to level this faction. There are no ways to level this faction with the exception of bounties. And those are a nightmare, and I'll explain that in a minute. Now, I'm willing to give DE credit where credit is due, because having fishing on a spaceship is stupid. Having hunting on a spaceship or mining on a spaceship is stupid. I 100% agree with DE in this case. But you would think DE could have taken the time with this update to add 1 or 2 other methods for us to be able to farm up standing in some of these Void Plume resources, right? Apparently not. Because there is no other way besides bounties to level this faction. And you may notice I'm sitting here on 5,000 of 5,000. I can't level this faction. I need a specific resource called Void Plume Downs. And after running the first bounties, which is the only way you can get them, by the way, multiple times, I've never gotten a single one to drop. You know how many Void Plume Downs I have to date? 0. You know how many I need? 5. You know how many you get for running one of the first bounties? 1. If you can get it to drop. And the game tells you that it's a common drop. But I can personally tell you that it is anything but a common drop. It is the rarest drop in these bounties. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised by this, because that's DE in a nutshell, right? They release an update, and they make sure before they release said update, they take the knob for the drop rates, and they break that sumbitch off on 0, right? So it's in the negative numbers. And then we have to bitch and scream and yell about the drop rates are too low. And then DE goes back and they glue the knob back on and bump it up a little bit, right? That's what they do in every update. Like the definition of insanity. When are they ever going to change that? When are they ever going to release an update wherein the drop rates are decent from the get-go? But not here. Not today, sadly. So unfortunately, Void Plume Downs don't drop. You can't get them to drop, which means you can't advance your faction, which means I'm stuck here on this faction. And it's ridiculous that, you know, I can run a timed exterminate, and that's fine. That timed exterminates, as long as you have a couple people, it's an easy mission to run, and it's very quick. And I'm willing to give DE that. So getting one Void Plume down, kind of completely understandable. But the other first bounty is a mobile defense. And that takes a long time. And it is absolute bullshit that you only get one Void Plume down. Excuse me, the common drop rate is something like 0.019%, right, DE? That's common, right? Yeah, obviously I'm being facetious, but that's supposedly, apparently the drop rate. So the drop rate amounts are ridiculous on these bounties, number one. And number two, the drop rates just are horrendous. It's absolutely awful. But let's talk about something else. I'm kind of tired of the negativity, so let's be positive here. Let's talk about Geyer, right? Geyer's a fun Warframe. I enjoyed using her. She does have one potential problem, though, and that is that she is as squishy as a mud puddle. She is awful. No survivability whatsoever. You would think that a developer that produced a game that has sorties, and produced a game that has Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, and produced a game that had Steel Path, you would expect that that developer would, understand the importance of survivability. But apparently not. Thank God we have the helmet system so we can correct said developers screw up Warframe after Warframe after Warframe. Otherwise, every Warframe in the past, probably, half a dozen, would have been terrible Warframes, each and every one. But thank God we have the helmet system. Put Gloom on her, fix DE screw up, give her some survivability, and then you could use her in some of those missions I've just mentioned. But yeah, even on Hydron, I came around a corner and a Nox bombarded me and almost downed me. That's how squishy this Warframe is. Let's talk about Dormazones. Okay, Dormazones. I don't really care about Dormazones. I know some people do, so I'm willing to make an exception. But me personally, I had to put all my decorations up in my Explorer here. I had to put up all my decorations in my dojo, which thankfully I had some really good people come into the dojo and help decorate it as well as myself. So for me, that's enough. I don't need any more, like, decorating. That's just me personally, though. Again, I know some people are really, really looking forward to it, and that's fine. But me personally, I'm good. I don't need any more. So what else can we talk about? Evolving weapons. Well, the idea seems really cool, and it's based on these cosmetics that I'm wearing, the ephemera, the Syandana, the armor. So they could be the worst thing that ever happened to the game. The evolving weapons could. Or they could be really cool. I don't know, because I can't level my faction, because I can't get the Void Plume resources to drop. So you're going to have to tell me, because I have no idea. I have no idea. Speaking of a hotfix, here's another one. And then I guess the other thing we really need to is we need to talk about textures. Now, I just did a video on this the other day. And so if you're interested in that, check that out. If not, whatever. So the textures are really cool. I know it's kind of sad that, something as irrelevant and insignificant as textures is the best thing in your update, but that's where we're at right now. That's truly where we're at. The textures are really cool. The biggest problem is DE's decision to attach them to a base Warframe skin, right? Non-prime skin. That's really kind of the problem with these textures. That means that DE is going to have to spend the next 2 to 3 years designing a void shell skin for each and every Warframe in the game. That also means they're going to have to charge us probably close to 200 plat for each skin just so we can use textures. That's close to 8,000 platinum when you consider that we have, 40 Warframes at this point. Yeah, no thanks. And again, in my personal opinion, I really do think DE should go back to the drawing board and just completely redo the appearance tab and go back and revisit some of those skins, the deluxe skins, the primes, right? The Tenogen skins, so that we can use textures on them without having to buy new skins over and over and over again. Again, that's my personal opinion, but let's talk about a review and rating this update. Sadly, again, the rating system pretty straightforward. 1 is an awful, terrible update. 3 is average. 5 is an amazing, incredible update. What does the Angels of Zariman get? Well, given all of the issues and all of the problems that I personally experienced, as well as a lot of the questionable decisions in this update, unfortunately, the best that I can give this update is a 2. It doesn't get a 1, as in the terrible worst update ever, but it probably should, because to date, this is the worst update that I have ever experienced in this game. After 8 years in this game, this is the worst update that I have ever had the displeasure of experiencing, sadly. And I'm not trying to say that to be a dick. I'm just going to be completely honest. So it gets a 2. Probably should get a 1.5, but it's getting a 2. So yeah, I think DE can get it fixed. I think they can get it working. I think there's a couple redeemable things about this update when it comes to the textures, when it comes to Geyer, right? But I can't comment on anything else like the evolving weapons because I can't level my faction because I can't get the Void Plume resources to drop. So I'm just done with that. I just don't care. I don't care about the Dorma Zones. The quest was a nightmare. That's really what is pulling this whole thing down. The extra faction added, the 20th faction added to this game, and probably a 21st and 22nd faction are going to be added in the future. That drug this down. The horrendous drop rates, that drug this down. So yeah, with all of that being said, unfortunately, the best that I can give this rating or this update is a 2. That's the best I can give it. Now, in a month, will it all be fixed? Will it all be corrected? Will DE fix the drop rates on the Void Plume resources? Will they fix this quest so that it'll run smoothly? I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will get it fixed. I truly do think that they will. But the problem is the damage has already been done for many of us, right? The damage, the experience that we've had can't be undone. So sadly, I have to rate it on my personal experience. Now, if DE wants me to go back and revisit this update after a month, after they've gotten their ducks in a row and gotten everything sorted and got all the hotfixes done, fine, I'd be happy to do that. But as it stands right now, my experience on launch day, this update is a 2, no better. But that's my 2 cents. Let me know what all you guys and gals think. What would you rate the Angels of Zariman update? And until next time, peace out.